All right. Greetings, beer industry people from around the world. Welcome to Harry's podcast. We're going to think of a better name. I just use that as a placeholder when I set it up in the software. But we're kind of testing our equipment today. As you can see, we've patched together a studio in my apartment. This mixer, Jordan, I bought that for my son, who's starting a rock band.
A DJ?
Yeah, he's one step above that slightly, and he's for YY. He's good on the guitar, and he was going to start a band this summer, and so I bought him this pretty expensive mixer. And it sat around for months, and he decided he needs to get a job instead, which I'm proud of him.
Way to go, YY.
Yeah. So it's mine. So that's why we're way over equipped. And there's 1,000 buttons on this thing. I know how to work 2 of them. One's the volume and one's the on and off switch. So anyway, this is a new podcast, or kind of a relaunch, where we talk about the beer business, wine and spirits business, and just other things. So this is our first one. We plan to do it every day, every work day, Monday through Thursday. Friday, I don't consider a work day. And I've committed to that for a year. We'll see how it goes. It's kind of a commitment. When I'm traveling, I'll try and post a little something, and it's not going to be long. You can watch it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, so you can kind of see who's talking. And then also you can get the audio feeds on Apple, iPod, or anywhere where you get your podcast, Apple Podcast rather. And then that way you can listen if you're driving or doing your exercises. So what should we talk about?
I mean, there's not a lot going on right now. The biggest story still is
Here, put your mic a little. You're in the broadcast business now, Jordan. You can't just be.
Hold on.
Yeah, just pull it.
How's that? A little too close?
No, that's fine.
Okay. It's still RTD equivalency.
Yeah.
And this week, Harry broke a big story on the beer industry forming a huge coalition to attack the discus effort. Discus.
The apostrophe goes after the S, I believe.
Okay.
You can go either way, actually, but I think I have the if you want, Jordan, I have the Chicago manual style here, yeah. And if you'd like to look it up, but
this is what we use for BBD.
Yeah, right. I bought that when I was like 20 years old. When I first was about to get out of college, I wanted to be a journalist or a writer, and they're like, "You need the Chicago manual style." And so I bought it, and I don't think I've ever cracked it open.
That was about to be my question.
Yeah. By the way, this is Millicent, but she has a stage name. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ridiculousness on MTV.
Oh,
it's a good one. It's a classic. It's kind of like, it's a modern version of America's Home Videos. Anyway, there's a young lady on there named, she calls herself Chanel West Coast. I don't know if that's her I doubt that's her real name.
I think Chanel is her middle name.
It is, but West Coast is definitely.
Yeah.
But everybody always says Millicent looks like Chanel West Coast, and so we call her Chanel Gulf Coast. She's
perfect.
Not quite as she's not quite as fancy. She's not eating like at Nobu and sushi like Chanel West Coast does. She's eating at the taco stand and drinking Big Red and stuff like that. Taqueria.
Exactly. Barbacoa and Big Red.
Yes.
That's
Saturday
right.
Special.
All right. So Chanel Gulf Coast is, she's from a suburb of Corpus Christi, if you can imagine that. Corpus has suburbs. Beeville. So anyway, yeah, she's from down south Texas, and glad to have you. Thank you. She's going to be like my sidekick, and when we don't have any other guests, we can cajole.
Thank you. I feel very
Chanel
special.
Gulf Coast.
Yeah, Chanel Gulf Coast, eating brown shrimp and rice, and gumbo, chewing tobacco and jerky. And then this is my doggy Biscuit. You can't really see her. Come here, Biscuit, and she'll be on the podcast too. She's our data analyst. So anyway, we were talking about RTD equivalency, and that's something that was put on my radar by Jim Cook. He called me, I want to say like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was driving to dinner, and and I was like, oh, it's a Boston number that's private. It's got to be Jim Cook. So it was. And he was, Jim's like, oh, Harry, this is important. And I was like, well, I just had a meeting with Sam Calagione where we tasted your spirit-based RTDs. And he was like, yeah. I mean, we're going to make them, of course, but we don't need the big spirits companies to come in our territory because it's not fair. And the whole level playing field is because beer is more difficult to make. It does take longer to make. It's more expensive to make, and it's more expensive to ship. What have I always said, Jordan?
Beer is heavy relative to its weight.
Bingo. And and that it's much more expensive to ship relative to its price. And it's heavy relative to its retail price, right?
That's so going on Harry's
Tombstone.
Yeah.
I plan to be cremated and shot out of a cannon into Millicent's. Actually, I want it mixed into a cake, and I want Chanel Gulf Coast to eat it.
I'll eat it right here on this podcast.
Okay, good. Shouldn't be too long now. Once you start wearing Adidas, sweatpants, a tracksuit on a weekday.
Yeah, Tony Soprano.
Yeah, you're kind of on the way out.
Yeah.
You're kind of on the way out. Anyway, but yeah, so Jim put that, and he's like, there's something going on in New Jersey, but it's going to go on in a lot of states. And indeed it is already. I think there's like 13 states that are considering some kind of equivalency bill. It's not just tax equivalency, but it's also channel availability.
Right.
Like here in Texas, you can't sell those products in a grocery store. And that really hinders their ability to market the product, because like a High Noon, for example, that Gallo makes is very successful, but not as much in Texas because you have to go to a liquor store to get it.
And you got to pay, I think, $25.
Yeah, right. And that's the tax equivalency. I mean, the average state tax is $10 a case for a spirit-based RTD, and it's like $3 or $4 for a case of malt beer. That's a huge difference. I mean, that's the entire margin in a lot of cases.
What was interesting about that coalition formed in New Jersey is it had Anheuser-Busch, who owns multiple canned cocktail brands.
Yeah.
Constellation, who owns a whole entire spirits division.
Right.
Boston Beer, like as you just pointed out, they have Dogfish Head canned cocktails. I think almost in Molson Coors, who's doing spirits-based drinks now too. And
the craft brewers in Jersey.
Yeah.
Because Jim was telling me that they really kind of weren't on board to begin with. And
I think so many of them have started to kind of dip their toe into distilling spirits that they're like, well, this may be a new avenue for us. So they don't really, I don't think they are on board as much as the big brewers.
Yeah. But
everyone,
I also think there's a lot of confusion. I don't think there's a lot of young people that in the industry who I don't think realize that there is a tax differential, and they don't really understand the difference. And, and that begs the question, why is it different? If the ABVs are similar, why is it different? Well, the history of prohibition and repeal, there's a lot of history goes in that, but a lot of people are like, well, who cares about the history? Well, it does work. Yeah. And really, if you change the tax code to make the base of the liquid the same, whether it be a malt base, sugar base, or a distilled spirit, it's a slippery slope until somebody say, well, why is a bottle of Bacardi or a bottle of Tito's taxed so much higher when nobody's drinking that straight? They're drinking it with mixers, and once you mix it, it gets down to 8 or 10%. So you can see the argument being a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And the other thing also that it has not been talked about, but the person I would like to talk to about this is Bill Goldring, who has Sazerac, and he's on the wholesaler side somehow. But he would, there's a thing called a rum cover over, where if you make rum in one of the U.S. territories like the U.S. Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico, then you don't pay federal excise tax. Well, what's happening is that a lot of these guys are making rum, they don't pay the tax, and they put the rum into other beverages to get the ABV up. So it's gaming the system. And once you make RTDs equivalents to beer, there's going to be some gaming of the system. And so anyway, from a beer wholesaler point of view, why are they backing it? Does it matter as long as they get their margin? Well, it does matter, because you're going to have wine and spirits wholesalers coming into the cold box for the really kind of the first time. And they can merchandisers. This is not, they don't know how to merchandise. Well, 10 years ago, they also didn't know how to do draft beer. Yeah. And now they do. It's not like you can't hire people to create a division very quickly and cheaply, and they're rich. They're not dumb. So yeah, it is an existential threat. Every 5 years or so, we see a big threat to the beer industry. It was Granholm at one point. It was direct shipping of wine to customers, to consumers and then retailers. Then it was, the CARE Act. Then always fighting taxes, but those things have worked themselves out. I mean, how often do we talk about direct shipping now? It's made it so easy to deliver stuff to your home through apps, through the legal 3-tier system, that direct shipping is almost not even a big issue anymore, except for wine.
Yeah, wine and spirits. For beer, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I don't think.
Yeah, and why?
Well, it's heavy relative to its price.
Boom.
And it needs to stay cold. Yes. It doesn't last as long as wine and spirits. I mean, people who get wine and spirits shipped to their house, they're going to take it and put it away.
Yeah, on a warm shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that the handling of a malt-based product is you have to keep it cool, and it has a shorter shelf life. You have to rotate it, and those are things that would have to be learned culturally for wine and spirits guys that really aren't used to that. You don't carry feather dusters around when you're selling beer, because there's no time for it to collect
Hopefully
dust.
not. Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. Some of these little craft brands, you see some dust on them, but yeah.
But the RTD cocktails, I think, is a legitimate threat that it's going to be a big fight, and especially for how well they're doing. I mean, we reported yesterday, High Noon, it was the 7th best-selling spirit brand on All of Drizzly over Memorial Day weekend.
Wow.
So that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, and it's good. I don't know if you've had it.
Good.
It is delicious.
Yeah. And well, shit. What do you do? I mean, I saw a billboard on I-10 that of the Crown Royal cans. They're RTD, and it's beautiful. I mean, those cans are beautiful.
And it gets you
purple.
really, really drunk.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's Crown Royal, and is it a seltzer or?
I think those are more like
they
soda.
They put Coke in them. Or?
Yeah. I've tried them once, and I was hammered.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does it taste good?
Yes.
Do you know the ABV?
Yeah, I don't.
It's probably 10% or something.
I think it's
high.
in between like 8 and 10.
Yeah.
I was talking to a major grocery buyer, and he was like talking about that Crown Royal package. He's like, man, I would love to have that in my stores. It's such a good looking package, but I can't in Texas. So
yeah, I don't know if the retailers are gonna come to beer's rescue on this.
No, I didn't see any retailers in that coalition. Unless it's like a Texas package store. And they're pretty strong here. They've got a big lobby here, Texas Liquor Stores Association.
When we did
they call them package stores.
When we did our
South.
beer distributors survey on canned cocktails, I think about a quarter of them said they're already, you can already sell them anywhere you want.
Yeah.
And then another quarter said no, and then the rest said we don't want them expanding.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I've talked to some distributors, real old school guys that are like, we don't want them because there's no franchise protection because it's spirit based. And I'm like, well, I mean, Monster doesn't have any franchise protections either, but it made a lot of people rich.
yeah.
And Red Bull, and now the new ones that are coming out every day. I mean, I feel like the non-alc world is like the craft world was, 10 years ago, where it's just a kind of a crazy Wild West that everybody wants to be the next Monster.
Yeah.
But you got to take that risk. But listen, $8 margins, I'll take that all day long with the risk of losing it someday. Oh, I made $2 million, but now I'm not making $2 million anymore. Well, you made the 2 million?
Yeah.
Invest it in somewhere.
Ride the wave at the beginning.
Put it in crypto, dude. Put it in Dogecoin.
Dogecoin.
That's what I do. All my extra dollars goes into Dogecoin.
All 10 of them.
Yeah. Now, all my money goes to a place called Washington, D.C., because I am proud to pay more than my share of taxes. Oh, man. I remember one year my taxes were higher than my income. I was like, how does that happen? How can that be possible? Anyway, enough about that. That's boring. Boy, we're really raking in the listeners. What else can we talk about? Electric shock treatment, or venereal disease? How can we get people to switch this off as fast as possible? Come on, Millicent. Let me hear that laugh. That's what you're paid the big dollars for.
Oh, no.
Come on, Chanel.
I think people would pay to hear me not laugh.
I don't know about that.
I think it'd be the ad first.
Now, but believe it or not, Chanel Gulf Coast is not a smoker, although she sounds like she was born with a cigarette in her mouth.
I have always had some sort of vocal fry.
It's raspy. It's a raspy ass voice.
Since I was a child, I sounded, my daughter sounds very dainty and cute and like, hi, mommy. I'm like, morning. Have a good day.
I'm sorry, I sound like a drunk sailor. Just got off of shore leave.
You would think that I would, but I don't. I don't smoke, and I really don't drink that often.
Oh, okay.
I mean, two, 3 days a week. I think that's fair.
That is fair.
And
I like that you're a beer drinker. You don't see too many ladies this.
Yeah. Well, y'all are talking about RTDs, and obviously I'm around y'all, and I read the publications every day. But I'm back on beer. I've gotten just burnt out. I've tried everything on the shelves because I want to know how they taste and how this one tastes different from this one, even though ABV is just a little off. And, like when Cacti came out, I was excited because I was like, okay, it's 7%. So I can drink a few less of those compared to like the White Claw that I normally drink, or Truly, or whichever I was on that day. And even after that, I'm just like, no, I just want a beer. Yeah. Like I'm back on beer. I now drink beer. The few days a week that I drink, it's now beer. I'm back.
Well, it's funny because we ran into Carlos Alvarez at Gambrinus, and you were like, I drink Shiner every day. Which she actually does.
Which I really do. And I think he could tell by the, my stomach and my thighs. I was not lying about drinking his beer.
Well, speaking of, he looks, I think he might've gotten COVID or something. He's real thin. He looks good. I wish, I got COVID too, and I gained 20 pounds somehow.
I mean, same. So we're the unlucky ones.
I know.
If I could just stay away from beer, I'd probably lose weight.
No,
but
good luck with that.
I know. I like it too much.
Well, so, and that's, I don't want to go too long, but one of the other kind of thing is just a lot of celebrity backed seltzers coming out. And we've covered like, Loverboy and Cacti with Travis Scott. And then, and then Truly with what's her name?
Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
Boy, she's good looking, and talented.
Go ahead.
And then, we have a story that I'm working on right now. It'll come out tomorrow, Friday, about a guy, about YouTubers. They have like 5 million subscribers on YouTube. They're just like young guys that are 20s, they're coming out with a seltzer, of course. But they have, you get 5 million, they get like 20 million views a week. I mean, that's more than Howard Stern gets. I mean, so these people that you kind of don't know about, they have huge audiences. And
it's the built-in fan base.
As you wrote about. And like Black Rifle Coffee coming out with a.
Here's the deal, I think, with Cacti and Travis Scott. Travis Scott has done a lot of, collaborations with people, but it's never been a, long-term brand. He does the collaboration, it sells out, and then he moves on to the next thing.
Yeah, like McDonald's with the Sprite.
And, all these shoe releases he does with Nike. There's a finite amount of product going out, and he just does his best to, sell through all that and then move on to the next thing. With Cacti, I don't know if he's really invested enough to, see that brand continue. It did amazing in its first couple weeks, and then since then it's kind of,
it's died down. From so it kind of depends on where you are, but I know like in the Midwest it's not.
You bottle that hype for 2 or 3 weeks and then move on to the next thing.
Right.
It doesn't last that long. You buy the Travis Scott Cacti back seltzer, but do you want to buy it again? Because you can get it all the time everywhere now.
Right.
So and another thing with Cacti, I know every place it's different, but here I don't really want to pay $18 for a 12-pack.
Is that how much it is?
And it's not even a 12-pack. It's a
9. Yeah, 9. It's a 9.
Pack.
I'm sorry, it's a 9-pack. That's how much it is.
I didn't realize it was that expensive.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I don't really want to pay that.
Yeah.
If like when I can
don't be asking for a raise. You can afford an $18 9-pack.
No, I know, but
it's $2 a beer. You can afford it.
I just kind of don't want to.
I know you don't.
When I'm standing next to, Topo, Seltzer, and all the rest of them that are less expensive, I'm like, do I really want to spend that much?
Well, the thing about Travis Scott is, he's not on TV every day drinking it. And so there's not that reinforcement, it's Travis Scott, cool. But then there's no reinforcement really, except if he's on standees or commercials. But if you look at something like Loverboy, he has a show, weekly. He has a weekly show on MTV where he's drinking Bravo, and he's drinking Loverboy on it.
Yeah. And that's his. He's doing all the heavy lifting. Travis Scott can still rely on AB to turn all that out.
Well, and like Black Rifle, those guys, the guys that do their podcasts, they have like 3. They'll drink those on their podcasts, and they talk about it. And they have like they do like 20 million views a week, and that one of the guys, he's like, I'm making more money off the podcast than I am the coffee. He's an employee there. He's not one of the owners, but so it's crazy how different marketing is, and how COVID accelerated that trend that was already happening anyway. That really social media presence and having a following needs to come first before the branding.
Yeah,
I think. And
I noticed even more so with, like, we're talking about just seltzers and famous people that are behind them. But, I can't even name how many actors have a tequila or some sort of drink that I didn't even know they were owners in. Like, I find out something new every day.
Well, Melissa and I actually worked with an actor for a while to develop a beer. Who was it Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, it was Ryan Gosling. Yeah.
Yeah, and but then it went on for a couple of months, but it came to he wanted a non-alcoholic beer.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Because his wife doesn't drink and whatever, and then COVID hit and it kind of petered out, and
then it just like faded away.
His agent called me one time, but I was right when I had COVID, so I never called him back.
Yeah,
But then there was another actor that his agent wanted us to work with.
Bradley Cooper.
Now he's bigger than the other one.
I would say he's.
I mean,
he's probably been in more movies.
But they're probably about the same.
He's a Star is Born. Come on.
What? yes. That was one of his movies. Yes.
Limitless, Hangover.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say they're about the same, right?
Maybe
they're both A-list.
I should call him back about Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, call Bradley up.
All right.
I think the Gosling thing first is
there were too many. There were too many cooks.
Too much going on.
He had his agents working on it. He had there were just too many people, and I was like, I go, non-alc is growing. It's a growing segment, but it's tiny. And he's talking. They all want to be like the guy that had the gin company, aviation.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yes,
they all are chasing him.
Yeah,
and his success.
Exactly.
And Clooney. Clooney was the first, and then
with Casamigos,
Ryan Reynolds, and now I think all these celebrities want to do something similar, but they want to find a niche little space of Bev-Alc where it doesn't look like they're following and Clooney
somebody
or
hasn't tapped in. Well,
Reynolds
I just tried a long drink for the first time, and that's Miles Teller. He's an actor, and he owns it with a golfer and a J. And Miles Teller's name I knew. The other two guys I didn't, but it's a
Finnish.
It's a gin. Yeah.
It's a Finnish drink.
Well, I had never tried it, and I didn't even know he owned it.
Do you remember the presenter at the Wine and Spirit Summit a couple of years ago who was bringing over a Finnish drink that had
Tom of Finland?
Yes, Tom of Finland, and it looked just like who's the guy that was in Queen?
Yeah.
He looked exactly like Freddie Mercury, but he's in leather, full leather. And it's like Tom from Finland. Was it a gin or something?
It was a gin. Yeah.
And we're like, oh my God. And then, we're all going, huh? And then he goes, yeah, for the gay community. And I was like, oh, okay. I get it now. But I was like, I don't think a lot of people are going to buy this thing with this leather clad, he's got leather chaps on the front of
I missed that.
Tom from Finland.
I missed that.
And apparently this guy, Tom from Finland, was an actual guy in the 70s who was very popular in Finland. And it's the look that the guy from Queen,
Freddie Mercury.
This is COVID fog in the flesh. I can't remember anything. But Freddie Mercury copied his look, this Tom of Finland, whoever he was.
Yeah. The company is Wolf something. He
was a great speaker, whoever that guy was.
We had him a few years prior when he was working for Espelon.
Oh yeah.
And he was the chief marketing
the
officer. Speakers
at the Wine and Spirit Summit, not to put a plug, they are really always really good.
Yeah.
Our beer speakers are good too, but these guys come super prepared and I would encourage beer people who are listening to this to go ahead and spend the extra couple $100 to stay an extra day for the Wine and Spirits part of our program in January for our beer summit, and the Wine and Spirit Summit is the day after. I mean, because I sometimes I get more out of the Wine and Spirits to bring lessons to beer than I do the other way around.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we still talk plenty about beer during the Wine and Spirits
Summit. Yeah. Because they want to all get into it.
Yeah.
Bastards.
I think in 2020, that was our last in person. My favorite was the Fat Jewish and his CEO.
Yeah.
They were my favorite speakers out of
we need to think about having another social media star come speak, like that guy, the Fat Jewish. Yeah. He was hilarious. Like Trevor Wallace, who did the White Claw Summer.
Yeah.
We probably have to pay him, but you think, Biscuit? We don't have to pay you except for Scooby snacks. All right, we don't want to go. These are going to be 30 minutes or less, but listen, this podcast is sponsored by the Distributor Productivity Summit.
Woo!
Whoop whoop!
Just a few weeks away.
July 19th. It's a webinar. It will be online through kind of Zoom kind of thing. But anyway, go to beernet.com. click on the Distributor Productivity Summit button at the top. That's a link at the top of the website, right under the logo, and we'll set you up. Or just call Jessica at 210-805-8006 or jessica@beernet.com. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you tomorrow, mañana. And listen, thank you for drinking beer.
Cheers.
See ya.